All right, let's talk Brock Purdy, which, okay, 3 straight losses now after having never been beaten. Kind of an interesting thing. And to me, this was the loss that I would probably put the most on him. I mean, the loss against Cleveland, there was sort of bad weather. I think it was reasonable to use that as an excuse. Last week, I actually thought he played all right, even though, again, not perfect, but wasn't terrible. He had some rough plays in this one. There's no getting around it. There was some good, and we're going to start off with some good. I thought that he kind of got worse as the game went along. So let's start off with some positives, and then let's get into kind of what went wrong in this one. Let's start off with this play. I really liked this play from Brock Purdy. So it's going to be man coverage. It's a 3rd down and 8 situation. So, okay, big play here. You gave up a touchdown. Don't want to give them the ball right back early on. And it's going to be man coverage. So one-on-one matchups across the board here for Cincinnati. Purdy's going to take the snap. He looks down the field. There's pressure, so he kind of has to navigate that a little bit. But look at how he's still looking down the field. This is what he's trying to do. He wants to throw the football. There just isn't anything open. And this is the kind of thing that Brock Purdy brings to the table that, comparing him to, Jimmy Garoppolo, and part of why I think, they've had more success with Purdy than Jimmy Garoppolo in the smaller sample size Purdy has been there, is because, while Purdy has been very good at running the system, he's also been very good at occasionally doing stuff like this. Watch as Purdy is going to scramble outside the pocket, and he's going to be able to pick up a first down. They tried to man up against the 49ers, which is often a good strategy, but Purdy has this as a part of his game. I feel like it doesn't get talked about a ton, but he is an athlete. He can move, and he can be a playmaker and make things happen, and we saw that on that play. It was really well done. And also like this one, where what's going to happen is, so I've highlighted one player for Cincinnati right here. I've circled him in yellow because he's going to get through unblocked. Watch, as you see, there's immediate pressure. Purdy has to scramble out, and look at how he's going to make this throw. Again, completely off balance. A lot of quarterbacks, honestly, get sacked in this situation. Jimmy Garoppolo gets sacked in this situation. Purdy, though, he's in this spot. As you see, watch him throw off balance, and Brandon Ayuk ended up getting wide open down the field. So, okay, maybe not the toughest throw in terms of there's a bigger window, but definitely a tough throw in terms of difficulty just to get the ball down there in the first place, right? Those are the things that Purdy is still doing at a very high level, in my opinion, or at least, very high level. That maybe that's too strong, but at least at a high level. Going over here, though, this does feel to be a bit of how we've seen some teams start to slow down the 49ers offense is, this is the type of concept that the 49ers have been feasting on really, since Kyle Shanahan has gotten there, of you have a route that's going to be over the middle against zone coverage. It is worth mentioning this isn't a traditional zone coverage play. It's only going to be a 3-man rush, so extra player backing coverage. So, okay, windows are going to be tighter than you usually expect them to be. But anyways, Purdy takes the snap. He looks towards Ayuk. That's the route that I highlighted. And you see there's a Cincinnati linebacker who's kind of standing in the way. This is something that we've seen teams do pretty consistently, and we're starting to see more, is just be aware that this is the route the 49ers like to run, right? Again, much easier said than done, right? Oh, just, know that this is the route they like to run, so try to cover it up. Sure, but then what happens when they run the ball and you get out of position? But I think we've just seen teams a couple times in these past few weeks do a better job. Logan Wilson doing a good job of knowing where he has to be. Now, Purdy still wants to try and see if he can throw it over the top of him. As you see, this throw is honestly a dangerous one. I don't like that decision by Brock Purdy. I think he would have been better off not trying to make that throw. Instead, just, looking somewhere else. Maybe, I don't know, you could have even potentially thrown the ball away. Yes, it is 3rd down, but you don't want to, turn the ball over, right? And that was debatably in the area where it could have been a turnover. But also the main reason I'm showing it is to give credit to Logan Wilson for getting in position and getting in the way of a throw that could have been there for Purdy. And there's no getting around, there were some just kind of clunky moments. Some moments that this play, for example, it's going to be a cover 1 blitz. And that's also another thing to note. We're seeing teams do this now, blitzing Brock Purdy. The mindset is, okay, the numbers are worse when he gets blitzed as opposed to when he isn't blitzed. And also just kind of makes sense, right? If you kind of sit back and just try to play your thing, Shanahan's going to know what you're doing, and he's going to be able to take advantage. Sometimes you have to mix things up and, play aggressive against the Shanahan scheme. But, it's still no big deal, right? Kittle running a route over the middle on 3rd and 7. This is still something you kind of almost expect to be able to hit. Purdy takes the snap. He is going to look over the middle. He fires over the middle. Kittle is open over the middle. So, okay, here we go. Just throw a bit behind and Kittle not quite able to make that play. These are the things that, like, we're used to seeing them, like, always hit on. The past couple weeks haven't hit on them with as much of a consistency. They haven't. And then going over here, okay, listen, those, up until this point, it's been fine. Okay, yeah, some nitpicks, some critiques, but so far I would say it's been fine. But you can't have back-to-back, turnovers on 2 consecutive passes. That's where things get difficult, especially when you're in the red zone right here, prime opportunity to tie the football game. Watch as Purdy is going to take the snap. It was an RPO. He ends up holding on to the football himself. And you see right here, what's kind of crazy about this is if he does successfully get it to his halfback, this is a touchdown on this play. So I get why he's trying to do it. A defender gets his hands up and not only is able to bat it away, but sort of bats it up and then catches it. To me, that's a great defensive play. I don't really, have too much criticisms for Brock Purdy on that one. I really don't. I certainly understand why some people will and, what the critiques could be of it. But to me, again, that one is fine. The next one was the real issue, in my opinion. Like going over here, it's going to be a zone coverage play. And I also wonder if there was a bit of a miscommunication because it seems like multiple receivers for San Francisco are going to run essentially the same route. They're going to get to about the exact same spots. So that doesn't seem to be ideal. But again, it's the same thing, right? It's a zone coverage play. You want to be able to, find a gap in the coverage over the middle. That's what you're looking for here. Watch as you're going to see Purdy takes the snap. He looks over, and Logan Wilson is here. And, Tony Romo on the broadcast kind of brought it out. It's like, oh, whoa, Wilson did such a good job of baiting Purdy by putting his hips a little bit towards the, bottom of the screen, but then flipping them over here. To me, I don't know. I think he kind of played it how you see a lot of linebackers play it. This is not just him getting fooled by a great defensive play. This is something he has to be aware of, especially when he's so frequently making these types of passes. You got to know where that linebacker is. That's kind of where this whole play is built around, is that middle linebacker, getting him out of position or knowing what position he's in and hopefully throwing to either side of him. Purdy ends up throwing it almost directly towards Logan Wilson, who gets the interception. And, again, the Bengals got a touchdown right there. And you think about the swing of those two plays, right? If you don't turn the first one over and get a touchdown, then you're tied. Instead, after this, now you're down 14 points in the fourth quarter. Purdy put himself in a situation where he really had to be perfect in the fourth quarter for them to come back. So, yeah, as a whole, just not good enough by Brock Purdy. I think it's fair to say, you're expected to do some nice things here. You're the quarterback on a team that has Super Bowl aspirations. You have to be better than this, and you can't have those 2 turnovers. That's really what killed them, and he's put the ball in harm's way a bit now in this losing streak, so they have to figure out a way to change that if they're going to, get back to the promised land. So we'll see if they're able to do that. But yeah, those are my thoughts on all of this. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.